All right, so in this lesson, I'm going to explain to you about a new kind of angle relationship called alternate interior angles. Okay, so that's the key title here. So in order to understand these, we need to understand a new type of diagram. And this diagram has parallel lines. So the key idea is that when you have parallel lines, some new angle relationships are created. So in this diagram, we can see there's this line here, P, that's intersecting them. This line has a name. This line is called a transversal. And a transversal is a line that intersects a pair of parallel lines. Okay, and so we have some angles that are created. The angles that we're going to learn about today are the alternate interior angles. And what that means, so alternate means they're on opposite sides of a transversal inside of the parallel lines. So the angles that we're talking about here are going to be these two little angles. And they're going to be congruent. So when we have parallel lines, the alternate interior angles are congruent. So that's the key information that we need to use today to solve some angle relationship problems. So definitely pause the video and get that all copied down if it was too fast. Okay, so we're going to look at this example to see which angles are congruent and which angles are adding to 180 degrees. So let's look at our parallel lines. These two lines are parallel, and the transversal that's chopping them is right here. So let me start with my alternate interior angles. So interior means they're inside of the lines, and alternate means they're on opposite sides. So I'll start with 3 and 6. So 3 and 6 are congruent. 3 and 6 are the same angle. They match up to each other. And let's find some other pairs of congruent angles. So similarly, 4 and 5 are also congruent to each other. They're also alternate interior angles. Excuse me, they're just on the other sides of each other. So those angles are congruent. So there's a bunch more pairs of congruent angles because if I look across the way, I can see that 5 and 8 are congruent to each other. And 4 and 1 are congruent to each other. So that gives me a bunch of new pairs. So let's see, 1 and 4 are congruent. And 5 and 8 are congruent. Similarly, 7 and 6 are congruent. And 3 and 2 are congruent. So let's see. 6 and 7 are congruent. And 2 and 3 are congruent. So if you look at it, you can basically see that this whole set of angles is basically the same as this set of angles down here, right? 1 matches to 5, 2 matches to 6, 3 matches to 7, 4 matches to 8. So let me clear up our diagram and look at which angles make 180, which angles have a sum of 180 when I put them together. So those are going to be the angles that are next to each other that make a straight line. So like, let's start with angle 1 and angle 2. So I can see they're adjacent to each other, they're next to each other, and they make a straight line, so those angles add to 180. Similarly, if I look at that line a different way, I can see that 1 and 3 also make a straight line and add to 180. Oh, sorry. Add to 180. 5 and 6, again, make a straight line and add to 180. And last but not least, 7 and 8. So there's a bunch of different relationships here of angles that either are congruent or add to 180. So we're going to try to get good at looking at these diagrams with parallel lines and seeing which relationship is going on. We're going to do 4 examples. So example 1, what angle relationship do I have here? So step 1 is going to be to identify the angle relationship. So when I look right here, I see that these are alternate interior angles. So when I see their alternate interior, that tells me they're going to be congruent. So step 2, let me set up my equation. So when they're congruent, it just means they're equal. So I'm just going to write 2x equals 3x minus 26. So I'm going to solve this equation, subtract 3x from both sides to get my x's all on one side. Negative 1x equals negative 26. Divide by negative 1. So I end up with x equals 26. So if you like, I kind of like to check it just to be thorough, but it's not necessary since we did finish solving the problem already. But let's just check it this time. Step 3, check. So that means I'm just going to plug 26 in and make sure my answers come out equal. So 2x means 2 times 26, which is 52. And then 3x minus 26 is 3 times 26 minus 26, which is 78 minus 26, which is also 52. So it worked out. We'll do a couple more examples and try to see what relationships we can see within the angles. So example 2, this one's a bit trickier. So first, let me just find my alternate interior angles. So this angle and this angle are alternate interior, which means this angle and this angle are alternate interior. So for my coloring, I can see that these two angles together, the yellow and the blue, have to add to 180. And so therefore, my yellow and blue angles add to 180. So these two angles are going to add to 180. So my equation will be 3x plus 9 plus 132 equals 180. So 3x plus 143 equals 180. 3x equals, plus 141. Take 141 away. 3x equals 39, x equals 13. So if I want to check that, let me just plug it into this equation, this expression. So 3 times 13 plus 9, 39 plus 9 equals 48. And if I check that, 48 plus 132 equals 180. So that one checks out. All right, let's do 2 more. Okay, so what's happening here? So I always like to start with my alternate interior angles, and that will help me figure out what other relationships there are. So 92 is alternate interior. These are alternate interior, and I can see these are right across from each other, so those are also equal. So all these red angles are congruent to each other. So that makes my equation simple. 8x minus 4 equals 92. Let me solve it out. 8x equals 96. So x equals 12. And if we want to double check, we can plug it back in. 8 times 12 minus 4, 96 minus 4, and that matches up to 88. To 92, sorry. Okay, let's do one last example. So take a minute and pause the video and see if you can figure out what relationship you think is happening here before I solve the problem. All right, so let's start with alternate interior angles. It looks like this angle is alternate interior to this angle. And so again, these blue angles are congruent, which means my yellow and my blue angles must add to 180. So what do I have? I have x plus 11 plus 3x plus 1 makes 180. So combine like terms, 4x plus 12 4x equals 168. And so x equals 25, 40. So x equals 42. So that's our process. Make sure you get good at noticing the alternate interior angles, and then from there you can figure out which angles are congruent and which add to 180.